Oh, very, very nice.
So we coming into water.
So water is a big, big key of getting out of prison, isn't that
Exactly.
right, Oded?
Water is the big key to get out of the prison. If you want to get out of the prison, and the prison, I can depict it in one letter, in a sense, it's the letter Shin. Shin is the fire.
Yes.
Start with Sheker, Nachon, Sheker.
Yes, Sheker begins with the shin.
With the Shin.
Also tooth, is it not? Shin nun is tooth.
Shin, of course, yeah. So
that bite, which could, that lie, that fire, which could bite us so badly.
So if you want to free yourself from the Shin, from the ash, that is burning and that is, I'm just going to put it in here just for you to see. If you want to free yourself from the Shin, there's a double Shin from the plus and the minus. If you want to free yourself from the Shin, there is a space here that is Mem in the middle. And this is the doorway out from this Shemesh. And Shemesh is the sun.
Now, that always struck me, Oded, that the word for sun, maybe it's not surprising that it would begin and end with the fire symbol, the shin. But what always made me wonder was the mem ot letter, the water letter in the middle of sun, in the middle of shemesh. How do you understand that?
First of all, says that in the middle of the sun there's water.
Yes,
there is water on the sun.
That's what.
Whether you believe it or not, I don't know what scientist has to say, but just the word says the mem appearance there said that there is water in there, but more than that.
No, that's what Nassim Haramein, the great physicist, he says that NASA has discovered that the sun, those black spots in the sun are actually, what's coming out of them is mostly steam. In other words, water, vapor, steam, and that the sun apparently is giving out huge amounts of steam and water. So the Hebrew word, because it's all coded secrets of the universe, the Hebrew word for the sun has to have the water in the middle. And,
which is the gateway into the central sun. If you want to get out of this, solar system, you step through the sun, through the mem. If there was no mem, you were locked.
Through the water.
Through the water, exactly. The water is your doorway, into eternity, and it is guiding you to search the truth in water.
Friends, the great physicist of our day, maybe the Einstein of our day, Nassim Haramein, he has an 8-hour lecture free on the YouTube called Unified Field. His Unified Field Theory, if you Google Nassim Haramein and you find Unified Field Theory, apparently NASA has been covering up, a huge amount, frankly. But there's this one film which Nassim found from NASA of a huge stellar object going in one end of the sun and coming out another end of the sun, something huge, the size of Jupiter maybe. And NASA filmed it and tried to cover it up. One way to understand the letters of NASA, NASA, is never a straight answer. But that's another story. So anyway.
So going back to water, even in the first phrase in the Bible of the Old Testament, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. In the beginning God created the heaven and earth. There is a direct message there. It says there, what is shamayim? What is heaven in Hebrew? In Hebrew, it means sham mayim.
You better write that, no?
Yeah, I will write that. Let me erase that.
Whatever you want to erase.
Yeah, this letter will excuse it.
If we need them back, we run it back.
Yeah. In the Bible, it says shamayim. It says here, let's look at that. there is a message.
That's heaven. That's our word for heaven.
For heaven, but within these letters tell us that Sham, which means there is mine. Which means if you want to look for the truth, look there where there is mine. And where there is mine, on earth. On earth there is mine.
Pardon me, but also on all the planets. They're discovering Mayim. They're discovering water.
Wherever there is water.
Poles.
Exactly.
And the comets, and the meteors, they're discovering Mayim all over the Shemayim, all over the heavens.
All over. Wherever there is water, there is life. Which means we can sustain life there. So the secret is within water. Water is, let's better understand, what water is. If I want to understand what water is, I have to realize how other languages, translate water, or what is their words for water. So we can understand how the Hebrew, it is embedded in those languages.
The same codes are embedded in the languages that are somehow, maybe even because Hebrew is the universal language, in a way, they're derivatives or different faces of Hebrew in a way. Isn't that right? I mean, they're different aspects of the one universal language. And so they all contain the same truth with just showing different aspects. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How do we say water in mime or water in English? We say water, right?
Indeed.
Water. That's what we say. There is a Hebrew word embedded in these words of water, and it is water. We say water. What is water in Hebrew? Viter.
Yes.
Viter in Hebrew, it means surrender. Water has the capacity to surrender themselves, to any body shape, to any shape. They are so flexible. To levater, to surrender, it means to be flexible.
Of course.
And this is one of the qualities of water. How do we say water in German? We say Wasser. Right? Something like that. I'm not sure.
Yes, that's right.
In
Or
Wasser.
they might write a W and pronounce it with a V.
Okay.
Maybe.
Wasser in Hebrew. What's the embedded Hebrew letter? It means biser. Biser, it means delivering a promise.
Oh, okay.
Levaser, besora. It means to give, to deliver a message. Deliver a message.
And that's what water does, of course.
Exactly, yeah. Water deliver messages, information.
Doesn't it also mean meat in Hebrew? Basar.
Also basar. Okay.
Yeah, well, we all know that 90% of our bodies are water.
That nourish the basar.
Okay.
That nourish the meat.
That even make it up, mostly. So,
exactly.
Wait, before you erase that.
Yeah.
So the English and the German, in this case, it's like they're... How would you explain the connection to Hebrew? It's like they're aspects of Hebrew, or what would you say?
I mean, I don't want to sound racist, but not exactly. But every language on this planet have roots of the Hebrew language. It says in the Bible, and at the Babylon story, and all the earth speaking the one language. ויהי כל הארץ שפה אחת ודברים אחדים. That sacred language, that one language, they gave them the power to touch the heavens, was broken into many, many, many languages. So somehow the Hebrew has been twisted into 70 languages.
It's not about race, it's about our cosmic inheritance.
Yeah.
And by the way, in the Keys of Enoch, it's somewhere around page 123. I remember a page. Don't remember the exact key. In the Keys, it says that there are 5 galactic languages. And the 5 galactic languages are Chinese, Tibetan, Sanskrit, ancient Egyptian, which is the hieroglyphs, and Hebrew. And they say that it's the Hebrew that somehow ties them all together. So, so it's, like I say, it's an English book received by an American man, yet there's Hebrew all throughout the book because Hebrew is important. It doesn't belong to any one group of people.
Exactly.
It belongs to the human race.
It's a universal language.
It's a universal language. And then that's also why it says that there are certain phrases in Hebrew that are keys to the enlightenment and freedom of the world. Namely, the Shema Yisrael, which Jesus talks about in the New Testament as being one of the two keys. Hear, O Israel, the Lord of our God is Lord is one. Israel meaning all people who seek God genuinely and in a straight way. And the other one is holy, holy, holy. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. The Lord of hosts, His glory is throughout the whole earth. So, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavaot, Malok Kol Haaretz Kvodo. So, it belongs to all of us, and it's a key to our freedom, to getting out of prison.
Completely. So let's stay with water. I'm erasing it because, you know, if we want the truth, and we do want the truth, in Hebrew, the truth tells you, you have to start with the Aleph and go all the way to the Taf, which is the last letter, Aleph, and the Taf here, the last letter. But you have to cross that bridge, you have to step through the man.
Now,
the man
this
is the water. You have to have the water. You have to be, I call it water consciousness.
That is the Hebrew word for truth.
This is
It's
the Hebrew word for
spelled
truth.
Emet. Emet means truth. And there's the water right in the middle. The Aleph, the first, and the Taf, the last letter. To go from the beginning to the end, you got to step through that water, isn't it so?
Exactly. And planet Earth is a body of water. Planet Earth holding the truth. If you want the truth, anybody, I believe, from this galaxy want the truth, will come to planet Earth to find the truth, because planet Earth holding is a body of water that holds the truth. And we want to understand, better understand what water is all about. Yet we know nothing about water.
But pardon me, this is something all traditions understand, that water holds the truth. That water is the key to true living. That's why baptism is the central rite of Christianity. Mm-hmm. In Judaism, you have the mikveh, the cleansing, purification in water. It's the water that opens us up to the truth of God, and all traditions understand this. All the great traditions, is it not so?
Completely. And when I realized that, I designed a new question to the masters and to my inner wisdom. Please teach me to better understand what water is all about and how I can get more and more out of water than I have usually learned to extract out of it. Water is a body of energy. It has so much energy that unfortunately we use so little of it. If I can just teach myself to get just few more percentage of energy out of water, I'm sure that miracles will happen. And that's what I did 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, I asked my guidance to teach me how not to drink water, but how to eat water. And since then, I've been eating water. I found that I need less and less and less food, and I can sustain myself more and more on water because I've learned how to eat water, because water is food. No one has bothered to tell us this.
Or liquid crystal, yes?
Completely. It is fooling, it is not more than that. The water is the energy that is creating the environment from within and from without, and based on this environment, the DNA is structuring itself. So water will structure our DNA that will eventually tell if our DNA will function at its peak performance or will function at lower performance. The higher the vibration of water, obviously, the better performance of the DNA.
And
The lowest of the vibration of water, the lowest capacity of the DNA to function.
And when you say it contains tremendous amounts of energy, another way to say the same thing is information. Isn't that so? This energy is information, and it's the key to informing us, informing the DNA how to be built, how it's so. Okay.
More and more scientists are stepping out, like Bruce Lipton and others, and telling it's not the DNA that is constructing our body and our environment, but it's the environment that is giving the order to the DNA.
How we perceive the environment.
How we perceive.
Because, what is this? The Science of Perception, what is it called? Is his great DVD. The biology of, it slips my mind. The biology of perception. Our perception, according to how we see the world around us, our biology will be built. It's not
it's all boils down to water, and consciousness and expanding consciousness can boil down to what is the frequency of the water in your body. If the frequency of the water in the body is high, we are in greater and greater health, in greater expanded awareness. If the water vibration is lower and lower, it becomes sick and diseases. We become less and less powerful. It all depends in water. Water is like an antenna,
yes,
that will communicate, help you to communicate with the higher forces and with, anything that will feed us and nourish us to realign ourselves with who we are. Yet we know nothing about water. How do you eat water? This is an art.
Well, we have water over there, Oded, so you could also show us how you would drink water. Or you could describe it.
I can describe it because it's a whole technique that I have evolved throughout the years of how to turn the water into an ample supply of energy that will sustain us all throughout the days. To that extent that you need so many, you need less and less hours to sleep. Completely, yeah. And your whole communications, from within and from without, it's just so much more supple and allow you to be in such at ease with everything that happens around us. Because water will teach us one thing. The most, I would say, the one thing that is taking us towards death or towards illness and sickness, I would call it gravity. If there is one force that will take you out of gravity, or we call it anti-gravity, is water. So the promise here that we don't have to get older with every year.
Gravity, like for instance heavy foods, that our body has to work so hard to digest.
Exactly.
And that leaves...
puts more energy to digest it than it gets energy.
And that leaves waste products in our body that poison us.
Perfectly. Oh yeah. So there are two questions to be asked about water. The one question, which is, what is the quality of water that I drink? Which is very important. But the second one, which is even more important, as far as I'm concerned, is how do I drink the water? How do I make sure that every drop of this water finds its way to every cell in my body? Because you can drink water, but just as it flows in, it flows out.
Doesn't reach the cells.
Doesn't reach the cells, and it's accumulating in your body. and what will turn eventually, it will turn into fat eventually. People that gain weight, they primarily gain water. These are water with very low vibrations.
And yet their cells are dying from a lack of water. They could be fat. They could have too much water in their bodies.
And yet dehydrated.
And yet dehydrated. Their cells are dying from lack of water. What is it that causes that?
Oh, very simple. You have to understand the basic mechanism of how the body protects itself. When the body is subjected to any threats, either it's physical threat, emotional threat, mental threats, this is a poison, it's a form of a poison. Then the body mechanism, what he does, he wants to fight these threats, he fights it by diluting it. How he dilutes it? It pulls water out of his cells and he dilutes this poison, whether mental, emotional, or physical. So the body robs itself from its own water, needed water from the cells, fighting what it needs to fight, hoping that it will eliminate it, it will no longer continue, then the water can go back to the cells.
Well, here's where Bruce Lipton's research is so important. He says that it's the perception, our perceptions, our consciousness, that cause how our DNA will work. Not the genes we get so much from our grandparents and great-grandparents, but how we see the world. If we see the world all the time as a threatening place, and then it causes exactly the phenomenon that you describe. The cells will want to dilute the threat that we imagine seeing, and the cells lose the vital water, and it's fear, also blocking the sacred circuit between earth and heart in our bellies. So this is the biology of perception. So it's so important.
Sure.
And if you could, of course, connect with the information in the water, then maybe we could be less afraid.
And there is obviously a crisis of water on this planet, unfortunately. And those who will have ownership of water, those who owns, the right type of water, they are in charge of everything. Who would guess, years ago, that we would have to pay so much money for water?
Yes, who would guess that?
Who would guess?
But part of the problem is, Oded, as you've spoken about with your classes, is that a lot of the water we drink isn't living water, it's dead water. It's got very little life energy or life information.
Because of negative information. Water store information. Now they cannot tell the difference if it's a positive information or a negative information, they just store it. So unfortunately the water that comes to our door is stored with so much negative information that the body resists it. The body just don't want it to get it in.
Why negative? How does water, what do you mean negative information? Where does it get negative information?
By the time the water gets to our door, at our house, it travels, from wherever it travels, and it depicts and it collects information from its surrounding environment. One way is,
part of the problem is the straight lines, no?
Is the straight lines, for sure, yeah. Water
of the pipes.
Of the pipes, and all the
which
substances.
Which is unnatural.
And all the chemicals, that they put in the water to purify, it.
And the lead in the pipes, and what I understand is all this straight line traveling is completely the opposite of nature.
Completely opposite. And more than that, it collects emotions.
Yes.
When this planet is so stressed and there's so much survival, issues around, it all somehow ends up in water, and you don't want that information into your body completely. You want it to be cleared and clean completely from any negative information, so that the body can use that water to rebuild itself and to raise its frequency vibrations.
So then there are two keys. one key is drinking or eating the water in the right way. The other key is getting good water. Isn't that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just to mention that the Old Testament or the Torah or the Bible is many times is related as water, as sacred water.
Okay.
So that just like water, we have to digest these messages from the Old Testament, and be very cautious what you put in, because it can manipulate you to think, what is right and what is wrong, and it eventually will end up to be a religious, which means strict rules that I'm not too sure will do us any good. So get rid of this worst habit that we ever, suffering from, and is the habit of drinking water the wrong way. We have to learn how to eat water. This is a whole subject by itself. I just want to bring out, the importance of water, so that, and you don't need to drink a lot of water every day, but make sure that every bit of drop just find its way into every cell in your body, and that will generate a lot of electricity.
How do you make sure? That will generate a lot of electricity.
Oh yeah.
Which is information.
Oh
which
yeah.
is energy. But how do you eat water? Can you explain to us in brief how it is you drink your water?
There are few rules, that you have to make sure. Never sip big lumps of water and swallow it. Never swallow water. Break it down into minute drops, in your mouth. Just take teeny bits of water and swallow it within your mouth, and put positive thoughts into it. Use the water as messenger. You load on the water a message of good information, and you allow it to travel throughout the body to wherever you want this message to be delivered.
Okay.
For example. And take the time when you drink water. It is powerhouse.
As if you were eating it.
Just swallow it, chew it, breathe, coordinate breathing and chewing. When I chew my water, I coordinate breathing. I breathe and I chew, I breathe and I chew, constantly. And I allow it drop by drop to sip through my body. And it's a whole technique that I teach in classes, because I think this is the most important information that I ever got.
And my friend and teacher, Jean White Eagle, she says it's very, very important to think of it as liquid crystal. And just when you hold that thought or image in your mind, it makes you already start treating the water differently as you take it in.
For sure, yeah. Take your time with water. It's like a meal by itself.
Do you want to say, yes?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to say anything about living water and how a person could get living water?
Well, I have made my choices. I put a lot of time and effort into finding what is the best living water available, and preferably to have a system that treats the whole house and not just the, drinking water, because we absorb water through our skin, we absorb it through our breath, and so forth. So I don't want to speak specifically of my choice, but I highly recommend everyone not to save on quality of water, because that will determine how far the quality of our life will travel.
People think if they buy bottled water, then they're getting good water. What do you say?
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, it's not doing it, because the water is as good as they are in the springs. Once they're separated from the springs, it is losing energy. It loses energy, and it has been standing for too long.
So you're saying to look into getting a living water system, maybe to Google the phrase living water would do the trick?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Google living water, and it will expand you to see what is available. So make a choice, whatever the choice is. Know that you allowing yourself the best quality of water, and we will teach you how to eat it and how to do that. And it's all coming out of here. I've learned about water coming of asking for the truth, and the truth led me to understand what water is all about, that is so much around us, yet we know nothing about it. And it was important to do that. So the letter M is like an anchoring point to allow me to, the water is like the bridge that it allows us to go from here to here.
From the first to the last letter to get to the emet, which means truth.
Exactly, and it says in the second phrase of the Bible, at the very end of it says, "Veruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim." Okay, and the Spirit of God is hovering over the water.
Right at the beginning, it says this.
Yeah, right at the beginning, talking about the water that is hovering over between the A and the Taf, Aleph and Taf, telling us how, where to find the truth. And the truth is also the Torah. Torah and truth having the same letter.
Yes.
And Torah and the truth, it means, is a teaching. It is showing us, more of who we are.
So water is a big, big key to getting out
major.
of the prison or the matrix.
Exactly.
Getting that right water and digesting it in the right way. Maybe we could take a break, or we could discuss one more key that you might want to go into now. What do you think? Shall we take a break?
What is the time now? No.
I don't know. The clock is there.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't worry, Melania could cut it.
Yeah, sure. The clock, where's the clock? Oh, here. 1:06. Oh, wow, yeah, I have to be in 2 in Tel Aviv.
Okay, so I guess that's it then.
Yeah.
All right, so some closing,
yeah.
something to wrap it all up.
Yeah, just to wrap it all up, there's so much more, that we can, bring and make a better sense of the hidden knowledge that is ready to awaken us and to realize the truth that we've all been seeking. But to wrap it all, I would like to say that the greatest secret of all, that my understanding after studying whatever, that I want to put all my effort into it is understand basically what is outside of me, but what is within me. And what is within me is humanity. Is that human that I am. And human and humanity around me is the key. For me, this is the key, to unlock the doors to my heart. I need my fellow men, my friends and human around me to unlock, my heart and to fully integrate myself with who that I am. So my way of understanding who we are is tuning into the planet Earth, Mother Earth, the Divine Feminine, and allowing the Divine Feminine, it's symbolized in this structure.
The V.
It's like the V. This is the Venus. This is the force that, unlike this force,
which is
the male aspect.
The sphere, the point.
Yeah, it's like an arrow,
yes.
Shooting. This angle or this symbol tells that to get things, you have to fight for it and you have to force yourself to get it. We've been there long enough.
Yes.
Now we're ready to step into here that says that with the right attitude and with the proper alignment, things will come to you. You will attract them to you. You don't have to fight to get them. This is the female aspect. And that's where we are heading. This is the letter Hey. They're telling us, stay still and restructure yourself so that what you want will come to you, and not having to force your way to get things and fight your way to get things, but allow yourself to be the processing to have things come your way. So this is all coming back eventually into the essence of the goddess, essence of the female aspect. It is all within us, whether we are male or female. And basically understanding that the human DNA is the most superior DNA that I know of. And it is so perfect that we don't need to mess with it. It is so perfect as it is, just to accept it and just to get to know it every day and grow with it to the greater self that we are.
And activate it, like in many, many ways, by the water we drink, and the intention we put in the water, we activate our DNA by using those Hebrew names for the 12 layers of the DNA that Cryon gives us. There are different ways of activating the DNA. Mainly, it's intention. What are we intending? So.
Yeah, and you know, in other, you know, we can have in other classes, you know, we can, you know, pick up, you know, different adjoining letters and to tell what stories they tell, just like, and I want to summarize with an open questions. Out of these 22 Hebrew letters, there are 2 letters that basically tells us or help us to understand that we're in the midst of the Third World War. These 2 letters that somehow didn't manage to come together are responsible for possible Third World War. Once we know that, we can do a lot of inner work to bring these letters together so we no longer have to face the catastrophe of Third World War.
And not necessarily meaning a war outside, but this Third World War, if they're not together, is happening inside of us.
Absolutely.
Inside of our bodies, yes.
Inside ourselves, it's between the heart and the head, wars, you know, which is sickness, diseases, and what have you, is an aspect of the wars. But there are 2 letters that once we put them together, I believe and I trust that we will come into peace, love, and harmony completely. And we will go back to the truth that we are. So,
do you want to say what they are?
No, I'm not going to tell what they are. They have to wait for the next teaching we'll have, and we'll talk about this letter, and we'll align ourselves with those for better, you know, planetary.
And of course, when we align those letters inside of ourselves, it's another big key of getting out of the matrix, out of the prison, isn't that right?
Completely. This is the key to step out of the matrix.
Okay, so, then. Until next time.
Yeah, so thank you for being with us, and we look forward to meet again.
Thank you very much.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hallelujah.
All right.